I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us today on Newsmakers. Well, the city of Joplin is like many communities planning for the future, and today we're looking at an organization that's helping with that planning, One Joplin. Joining me to begin the program is Ashley Micklethwaite with One Joplin. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much.
And today we're going to talk about a number of topics, but I thought we needed to start off with maybe a definition. If somebody comes up to you and says, what is this group I've heard about called One Joplin?
Yes, so One Joplin is unique because we are called a backbone organization. What that means is we work with 84 community partners, and those partners are nonprofits, businesses, the faith community, as well as governmental entities like the health department or Missouri Southern State University.
And you are your own nonprofit organization then?
We are, but we are not a 501c3. Because we don't want to compete for funding at the local level.
Right. Okay.
So the Chamber Foundation is our fiscal sponsor.
And how did the idea generate? How did the One Joplin come about?
Well, about 5 years after the tornado, our founding partners, which are the United Way, the Chamber Foundation, and Joplin Regional Community Foundation, came together and wanted to make sure that the synergy and collaboration that really blossomed after the tornado continued, and that's what we're all about. We're about that collaborative environment and nurturing it so our community can thrive.
Sounds like it's a means of communication then for those many agencies, that everybody may have their own special niche in the community.
It is, and then those agencies come together to solve big community problems. So we have teams that work on health and poverty, literacy, and human services like domestic violence and child abuse and neglect. And we also work at the neighborhood level as well, getting neighbors to connect with neighbors.
So I know when you look at your website, you talk a kind of a pie chart showing how everybody's kind of working together in this one big group and the different organizations that are represented.
Yes, and when everybody works together and collaborates, you can truly solve big community problems.
Great. So one of the things we're talking about today is looking ahead. This year is a census year.
Yes,
and I know you're playing a big role in that for the community. I guess collaboration's a big part of that once every 10-year effort.
It is. One Joplin is honored, and I'm serving as the Joplin Area Complete Count Committee chairperson. And all that means is really getting everybody on board and getting the word out about how important the U.S. Census is and why to participate.
Now, for a lot of people who think, oh yeah, it's 2020, it's every 10 years we have to do this. So take some time today, we'll talk about it. I know you also have some graphics that can tie into that. So maybe let's call up some of the graphics with the PowerPoint and kind of lead us through as we go along these lines. And just starting off with the census, why are we doing that? Why does that happen every 10 years?
Right. Primarily for two reasons. In part of our U.S. Constitution, it says you've got to count everybody in the United States. It determines representation for voting and representation at the federal level. So very important to make sure your voice is heard. And then it also determines how federal funding is divided throughout the country.
So this is, and we're showing some graphics now, so we're looking at, the consequences of not filling out your information, basically. You're saying, what can we give up to others?
So the U.S. Census predicts how many people will not respond based on history. We have one area in Joplin that is expected that 25% won't respond.
You say 25%. Area like a demographic area?
It's a census block.
Oh, okay.
Which is a pretty
large number of people.
Yeah, large number of people. And if you just multiply the number of people they expect in Joplin not to participate by $1,300, which is the amount we lose per person, Joplin could lose out on almost $22 million of funding.
And this ties into that federal funding that you talked about.
Yes.
And tying that together.
And that funding goes to help improve our roads and our bridges, helps to fund programs like Medicare Part B, helps fund our schools and school lunches and after-school programs. It's vitally important to our community.
So when it comes together for the census, some people may be wondering, well, how are we doing that? Is this the procedures pretty much the same? You have a form that you fill out, people are supposed to fill out?
Well, for the first time in U.S. history, it's going to be a little different this time. So in mid-March, everybody should get something in the mail. and it will tell them how to participate online or on their phone.
So the technical aspects of this year is a big change.
Yes, and one reason they did that is that it can save the federal government millions of dollars if people participate online.
In the old days, you got something in the mail, you had to open up the envelope, fill it out, and send it back in.
Right. So in mid-March, I always think of the Ides of March, around March 15th, people should be looking in the mail, and they can participate right away.
Oh, okay.
April 1st is Census Day.
Right.
So when you're completing the census, what you should think about is whose head is in the bed on April 1st.
So they really want to know who in that household is actually there at that time.
Right. And so if you're parents of a college student, but your college student isn't with you in Iowa, but is coming to school at Missouri Southern, well, the college student needs to count themselves in Joplin. One population that is greatly undercounted are young children. And count those babies. They are citizens.
They're not voters, but they're citizens, right?
They're part of our community. Count them. Also, if you're a foster parent, you count the children that are in your home. If you have to double up over the winter because economics are hard and you're sharing your apartment with somebody else, the landlord will never get this information. Just count everybody who is in the home.
Now, you mentioned the college student aspect. Of course, we're recording this at Missouri Southern, so
Yes.
the university students are interested because they say, I'm from Iowa, I'm from St. Louis, and I'm going to school here at Missouri Southern. Will they actually get that notification, or how do they find out? I let people know where I'm at.
They should get something in the mail based on their address.
So their university address if they're on campus or if they're living in an apartment in town.
Right. And then the census does special things to count people in group quarters, like if they're living in a dorm or if people are homeless and living in a homeless shelter.
Right.
There's a little different process for that, but we want to make sure everyone is counted.
Now, you mentioned, working on getting the word out about this. Tell me about the work of the committee as far as trying to inform the community. Obviously, we're doing this show, but what are some of the ideas? What are things people can look for?
Yes, we're very fortunate. We received a grant from Missouri Foundation for Health to get the word out. We are divided up into teams based on undercounted populations. So, for example, we will be working with our team on senior citizens, and so for the homebound meals, we'll be putting flyers in those homebound meal deliveries to make sure the senior citizens know about how to participate and how to engage, and that their information is secure. We will be reaching out through the schools and daycares to make sure all of the children are counted, and we'll even have hot spots around town. Because it's online this year, we will be able to set up a census, fill out your census right here, right now, even in a parking lot, and we'll have tablets and computers for people to do that.
Well, since it's online, you mentioned certain demographics like senior citizens, they may not all have access to computers and so
Correct.
forth. So they're going to say, how can I be counted if I don't have that internet?
Right. And by mid-April, if people haven't filled it out online, then they will receive a paper census in the mail. If they don't fill out the paper census, then the census sends somebody out to their home, and these people will have census IDs on, governmental IDs, and they are U.S. government employees to help people fill out the census.
So they can do it personally, one-on-one with this person who's visiting with them.
Yes.
We've heard of census workers in the past. Is that what these people would be? We've heard, in the past we've had hiring for census workers.
Yes, yes, they are officially called enumerators, and enumerators are already working in Alaska, and they get to ride dog sleds. They really do.
Areas to visit, right?
Yeah, they're really serious about making sure everybody counts. In Joplin, no need for dog sleds,
right.
but they will visit people's homes that have not participated yet.
Imagine with societies become so mobile, people coming and going and moving, it's important for cities to know, how they can guesstimate we have so many people because we have so many houses in the town, but how many people actually live here?
It's very vital, and it's a point of pride for Joplin. Almost every community after a major disaster loses residents, loses population. We don't think we have. In fact, we think we've grown. This will prove it. And besides that sense of pride, it will also help us maintain and improve the services that we can give people.
So when the city of Joplin goes to Washington and says we need money for X project, they can say how many people live there, and we break the money down by percent of the population.
Yes, and everybody's touched. Everybody's touched by the census. I tell people if you drive on the roads and you're cursing those potholes,
those are
the census.
Right. So we anticipate a number of activities as well as these programs that we've talked about to get people ready for the census.
Yes.
And tying that together. If someone has questions, do they contact you as far as sometimes people are concerned about what about that confidentiality? I'm going to fill this out, like you mentioned, a landlord's going to find out, or I don't want to disclose my ethnicity or something like that.
Right. They can contact One Joplin, or better yet, if they have access to the internet, they can just type in 2020 census, and the census has so much information on their website about security. They even have a sample of what the census questionnaire looks like. It's only 9 questions this time around.
Oh, okay.
It's very simple. It won't take a lot of time. And they can look for more information coming out in our community as well.
So I know in the past some people would say, well, I got the long form. It took me forever to fill it out. Now we all pretty much have a standardized form that everybody fill out and answer those questions and so forth. So your team that's working together on this, what are they finding the most enjoyable part? I mean, this is once every 10 years that this project comes around.
Yes. I think one of the things they're finding shocking is who traditionally hasn't participated, because some of these groups benefit so much from U.S. Census federal dollars that come back to the community. Right. And so they're enjoying thinking about ways to connect with those populations that they serve.
And of course, these numbers not only affect the dollars, but when we talk about the districts for representation for the government, who's going to be in which congressional district or which state district, those all tie into the numbers.
Absolutely. And how many representatives we have represents our voice. And if we don't report, what I say is we aren't getting our fair or just share. And other communities like Iowa, who traditionally reports through the census participation very, very well.
So they have a high level of participation.
They have a high level of participation in Iowa. Not that I don't love Iowans, but we need the money here.
So this is a statewide effort. Joplin, this region that you're serving.
Yes.
You're One Joplin, are you working then with communities throughout the region then? Are there other communities doing similar things?
There are. In fact, I was on a conference call this morning with communities throughout the state that are working on this. And we're sharing resources and helping each other as well.
So our viewers who may not actually be in the city of Joplin, but they're watching throughout the region, they can expect similar emphasis in their communities.
Absolutely.
Great. Now, One Joplin as a whole has a lot of things going on, and I know we have a program, second half of the program, talking about one of them. But if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that? Through our website is the best way, and they can even fill out a contact us here on the website, and we'll get back in touch with them. Great. Well, Ashley, I'd like to thank you very much for being with me on this part of the program, and I appreciate you being here. Great. Thank you, Judy. You're welcome. And I invite you to stay tuned, because coming up, we're going to find out about another program with One Joplin.
We wake up every morning with a fire within us, to innovate, to explore, to inspire. We welcome the unique, the different, those who challenge the status quo. We have a passion for new ideas and turn visions into reality. We stand out and stand together. We are creative. We are dreamers. We are lions. Welcome back to Newsmakers. We're continuing our look at One Joplin, and this part of the program is going to take a look at what we call neighborhood councils. Joining me, we have Gwen Murdock and Raquel Sapien. Thank you for being here today. Oh, it's great to be here. Someone asked the question, well, what's a neighborhood council?
Let's start off with the definition once again, what we're talking about today.
Okay, it's a group of people from Joplin who are concerned about their neighborhoods and they want to strengthen Joplin. And so we formed the neighborhood council. The people on the council aren't elected or anything, we just are volunteers. And right now, the members represent 9 different neighborhoods in Joplin.
Right. So when you look at a big city map, you have 9 different areas that are considered neighborhoods, people working together for this.
Well, there are many more neighborhoods in Joplin.
Right.
It just happens that...
These are the first 9 to get organized.
Yeah.
Right. So how do people join? I mean, you're both very involved in this. How do people join the neighborhood council?
We'll meet the third Wednesday of every month at 17th and Byers United Methodist Church, and everybody's welcome to come and join us. It's the third Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Okay. So let's talk about the structure then. So you have these meetings. Let's talk about what you're actually, the hands-on approach, what you're doing at these meetings and how that works out for the structure.
Well, right now we're trying to figure out ways to improve, particularly rental housing in Joplin, but basically all housing in Joplin. We want people to be able to live in safe housing and healthy housing. And so that's the focus of our work right now.
When you say rental housing, people might be curious, do we have a lot of rentals in Joplin?
42% of Joplin housing is rentals.
So it's a large percentage
Yes.
of the area.
Yeah, larger than other communities.
So the challenge is then when you have a rental is you have an owner who may not even be in the same community where the people are renting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tying that together. So a lot of this is awareness, I guess, of where some of this challenges.
Right, and one of the things that should be happening that isn't happening is that there are requirements for for the owners to maintain the housing, make sure that the windows are in one piece, and make sure the roof is in one piece, and make sure water is provided to the property and that sort of thing. And so the city of Joplin enacted a housing code in the early 70s.
Right.
And right now they don't have the resources to enforce it.
So there are specific rules that they should be following for the homes that people are living in.
Yes.
But it's just a challenge of the numbers. You said 42% of the homes, that's a lot of homes to be following up on.
Yes.
And tying all of that together. So when you look at the rental housing, then also you have the challenges of the person owning the home trying to maintain it. Do you have effort to try to help people with those projects as well?
Well, One Joplin will put people in touch with other nonprofits that are sort of in the business of helping people maintain their houses. So organizations like Hearts and Hammers and Economic Security and Habitat for Humanity are in place partly to help people maintain their houses.
Our focus is on landlords. It's not on people who own homes, that maybe need work on. For people who own homes that need work on or need improvements, we can connect them to resources like, Gwen was talking about, Economic Security Support Corporation. But we're more focused on landlords. They should have a business license, and a lot of them don't. Because like Gwen was mentioning, the city has codes,
right?
And also landlords should have a business license. But we don't. But the city does not have the personnel required to enforce these codes or just business fees.
So do you communicate then at these meetings with the city? I mean, you heard the concerns of the city and the staffing, so you kind of have a communication line with the city while you're working on things.
Yes.
And tying all of this together. So the city has a number of ways that it can deal with housing that are facing challenges. I know we have some pictures that we're talking about rental houses, and there's a wide variety of homes, and I guess you have apartments as well, but types of situations people are renting homes. We have some pictures. We can look at some pictures that you have and kind of describe maybe what people are seeing on these homes. So here's one that's obviously needing some help, and people may ask, someone's actually living in a place?
Yes, in a lot of cases, these houses that are set up to be demolished by the city, that finally neighborhoods get together. This particular house, it was the childhood home of Ashley Micklethwaite, and now it is
falling into disrepair there.
Yes, and people are living there, but it's set for demolition.
So the city has some procedures they have to go through before we can say it's unhealthy, unsafe, before they can reach that point. Another one here needing some work.
Yes, so what is a shame is that these houses with some work could be suitable homes for people. What is also a shame is that some people are paying rent for this kind of dwelling.
And so there's a landlord who owns that house.
Well, and one of our concerns is, some of these houses, we have children living in some of these houses. There can be rodent infestations, insect infestations, and like we said, there are safety and health codes, that can be enforced, but the city lacks the personnel to enforce these codes, and that's why we're trying to reach out to the city, and we're trying to work with the city to see what we can do, how we can help, to get these codes enforced, and get the landlords, to pay the business license fees.
Now, you mentioned the neighborhoods. You have 9 groups working together representing a wide geographic area of town?
9 individuals who are on the neighborhood council represent 9 different neighborhoods.
9 different neighborhoods. So let's say this looks obviously of a before picture of one of the homes that we saw, so you can see how things change over the years. It's just as ownership changes and people are unable to take care of their homes. Do you find that sometimes, the picture here of the family posing or good days of the house versus what it was like today in the picture earlier, it's just sometimes the financial challenges for those homeowners or those landlords that they bought something to realize what it takes to keep it up?
Yeah.
Right. It is, of course, difficult, and one of the programs that One Joplin has going on is a program to certify tenants and also landlords. So the tenant training is how to be a good tenant.
Right.
And the landlord training is how to be a good landlord. And so we're hoping that people that go through that program will have an easier time renting a safe, affordable house.
And that's something that people don't think about, the both sides of the picture, that when you rent a house, you need to treat it with respect and treat it, not yours, you're not owning it, but you still have to take care of it.
Yeah, but also, I think it's discouraging for people to report a problem to their landlord and not get a response. So.
Do you get many responses from maybe neighbors that say, we have this house down the street and it's really an eyesore, what can we do?
Of course, and that's, I think, everybody on the council has a story of one sort or another. And, when we've been out soliciting people's signatures for our initiative, we also hear lots of stories of people that have had trouble getting a safe, affordable rental.
Yeah, because we have to understand that this also brings property values down. If you have them in your area, it brings your property values.
If you're taking
down.
care of your house, but the one down the street's not, then you're going to have some problems.
And you can find us at events. Where we have booths at events. You can find us at upcoming events. We have petition cards. That we have and we present to the people at the event. So they can sign up. And we do hear a lot of complaints. About these houses that they have in their neighborhoods.
Well, tell me a little bit more for the audience what the petition means, what you're trying to petition for.
So we're distributing these petition cards, but people can also go to the onejoplin.com website and sign a petition, and then when the new city council is in place, May 1st, we will make a presentation to the city council asking them first to collect the business license from landlords who own a dwelling with 3 or more units, and then ask them to use the money that they gather from those business licenses to employ more housing inspectors.
So you have some specific goals that you're trying to reach to bring to the council through the signatures and what you're trying to do. So opportunities for people to get involved that way to share their concerns. And so forth. What if people notice things and they want to report it now? Is there a procedure with the city if they say there's a problem?
Well, there's a website and a cell phone app called See Click Fix. And if you see something that you think the city should pay attention to, you can report it on that website. And the times that I've reported various things like a streetlight outage or, vegetation overhanging so you can't see what you need to see to cross an intersection, the city's been very responsive. So See Click Fix is a very nice way to get in touch with the city, very convenient.
So then it goes to the proper person at City Hall that's going to deal with that department to deal with that type of problem and tying that together. So awareness, once again, letting people know there are ways to respond and tie together. And so forth. Well, what do you find working on the neighborhood council as far as this time that you've been developing the most, I guess, enjoyable or gratifying part of getting people together on a project like this?
Well, I guess I find, meeting a greater variety of people in Joplin in my own little social
Kind of
sphere.
expanding, right? Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah, I enjoy that.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, we have a variety of people on the neighborhood council. I mean, we have faith-based people. You know, I mean, we have people on the council. You know, who they themselves are landlords. You know, and they're also concerned. You know, with the whole issue of having healthier and safer, you know, housing and, you know, neighborhoods that look good, having the city of Joplin look good, you know, because I mean, a lot of, you know, we're worried that, you know, people might not want to move to Joplin, you know. I mean, they might not want to move to a city where the houses are dilapidated, you know. So, you know, we have a lot of concerns, you know, that we share about how we want Joplin to look, you know, and how we want people to have safe, healthy homes to live in.
Right. Well, it was mentioned on the first half of the program about the post-tornado recovery, and a lot of new homes were built.
Right.
But then there's still a lot of the older problems or problems that still exist that, you know, the whole town wasn't changed after the tornado.
Exactly, and you know, there was a lot of effort put in the tornado area, but the houses outside the tornado area also deserve some care. And every neighborhood has one or two stories about, you know, this house or that house that has gone into disrepair and then ultimately is abandoned. And so we're trying to work on that.
So this goes throughout all parts of town. You're not
Yes.
talking about one specific area where you draw a circle on a map and say, here's the problem area,
Right,
and tying that together. So you mentioned meetings. So if somebody's interested or wants to provide input, tell me again where you meet and what you do.
Okay, we meet on the third Wednesday of every month at 17th and Byers at the Methodist Church.
And what time of day is that?
At 6 p.m.
So it's an evening meeting, so people
Yes.
who work can come in the evenings.
Yes.
So basically it's a time to hear and share ideas?
Absolutely, yeah.
And your ultimate goal then is to have the petition, this information through the cards, and to be able to talk to the council later this spring.
Yes.
Right.
And one of our hopes also is, you know, to get as many people as we can in the council so we can start canvassing the neighborhoods, you know, going out, you know, and having people, you know, sign these petition cards, you know, and getting more and more signatures so we can go before the city.
Right, so that's an immediate your project that you're working on, and people can find
And
out
we're
more.
also interested in what, you know, people who are running for council, what are their views on housing
Exactly.
in Joplin?
Okay.
So we'll have a forum where candidates can come and we will discuss with them.
Great. Well, as we talked in the first part of the program, the different scopes of things that are involved with One Joplin, this is one piece of that big pie we were talking about,
Exactly, yeah.
tying things together. And for more information, they can go to the website, like you mentioned,
Yes.
and find out what's happening there. So great. Well, I'd like to thank both of you for visiting on the program, providing information about this project with One Joplin.
Well, thank you.
Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for having us.
And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us this week on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. I hope you can join me again next week at the same time on this station. We'll see you then.